All right, guys, thank you for joining us. Before we start this episode of the Vision Cast, just a quick disclaimer. None of us are doctors. This is not any medical advice. Any medical advice regarding your health, your hormone health, whatever it may be, please talk to your physician or any doctor that you may go to on a regular basis for that information. Enjoy the episode. Good? Happy with it? Okay, great. Episode 10. This is 11. Wow, ready? All righty, folks. What's going on, guys? Another episode of the Vision Cast with our friend Brian. He is the clinic director of Revive Jericho. Thank you for coming by, my friend.
Good to be here, guys.
Appreciate you taking the time. So we brought you in solely because when you do podcasts, people want to know what topics you're going to be talking about. And I would say 7 out of 10 people, however many that asked questions, said we want to talk about testosterone replacement therapy, HRT, whatever it may be. I don't have any knowledge of that topic. Whatever my situation is, it is. But I wanted to bring in not just a bodybuilder, not just a gym bro, someone who goes through this every single day and talks to people who need help and who need to get their blood work done. So I guess just to start the conversation off, how do you go about, let's say I'm coming in, I want to get my blood work done. I don't know what any of my levels are. How does that process go at your establishment? And what are your, let's call them, recommendations?
But what do you offer is really the big picture, right? Like what's Revive services? I don't even know.
Yeah, so HRT is the biggest thing that we do. We also do vitamin therapy. We do ozone therapy. Some locations have cryotherapy, stem cell as well.
Wow.
Yes, I mean,
what is all that? Could you kind of go deeper into it?
So yeah, the hormone replacement therapy. So I guess that's the main thing that we're gonna run through a lot of the particulars with that today. That's generally going to start with blood work, intake forms, conversation of symptoms, things you're experiencing, things you want to achieve. And everything that goes into that. In terms of the vitamin therapy, it's going to be a vitamin infusion. So depending on where your vitamin deficiencies are, our most common bag has B12, B complex, vitamin C, calcium gluconate, glutathione push. It could be a variety of different things. We have an immunity bag that has a little bit higher content of vitamin C, a lot of different things, carnitine and arginine in a weight loss bag. Depends what you're looking for. So there's different options.
So it's not like a blanket, like, oh, I'm like dehydrated or I want an immunity thing. You're not just giving, let's call it 3,000 milligrams of vitamin C. It's based upon the blood work of that specific person, and then they get X amount and so on and so forth.
Yep. Symptom-based and then also blood work-based, which is similar to the hormone replacement therapy too, which we'll jump back into. But yeah, it's going to be both, what you're experiencing as well as what your blood work indicators show us.
Mm-hmm. Wow. So in terms of people that come into your establishment, do you find some are more bodybuilders, or is it like the average 45, 50-year-old male who feels that he's lethargic and et cetera?
Yeah, it's interesting because we get a combination of both. We have the young guys who are more into the gym, they're doing bodybuilding, they're serious about getting into that. Then we also have guys that are just maybe 45, 50, 55 years old that they're just starting to feel a little more lethargic, they're tired, lower libido, weight gain, difficult time converting body fat to lean muscle. All of those things, those are the common factors that we get a lot of the time. So it's really a mixed bag of people that we get coming in.
So when someone comes in, let's say it's a 35-year-old male, what are at least what you see and the people that work there see? What are the most common symptoms? Is it just being tired? Is it lethargic? Is it more libido driven?
Yeah, you know what? I would say the most common thing is that people say they don't feel the way that they used to. If I was to say one specific thing.
Back in the day.
And that, yeah. and then it's lethargy. I'm always tired.
Yeah.
My libido is a little bit lower than it used to be.
Yeah.
I can't put on muscle like I used to. I don't sleep as well. Yeah. A lot of these things.
Yeah.
And that's going to, pretty much after the age of 30, generally speaking, is when we see it go down little by little.
I mean, hey.
Right.
You qualify now.
I mean, hey, how you doing?
Didn't you just turn 30?
Yes, I did.
All right.
Yeah.
Happy birthday, Nick.
Thank you very much. So it's funny you say that because I think when people think of TRT and HRT, they only think of bodybuilding. I think that's a fair assessment, especially with social media. You only see like the cool aspects. And again, the reason why I wanted you on is because you have a lot of podcasts that just talk about, I'm taking X, Y, and Z, this, and this on this cycle, or whatever it may be. I genuinely want to go into a more health and wellness rounded conversation because people associate testosterone with just building muscle, and they don't really know and actually look at the science and how it actually affects your heart, your brain, your sleep, which not a lot of people actually know about.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think anyone feels a lot better when they have a good night's rest, and you'd be surprised what that does to your testosterone levels as well.
Yeah, I mean, we talk about quality of life first and foremost. You know what I mean? So if you can be a more energetic person, if you can be more effective at work, if you can be a better dad, a better husband, a better friend, you know what I mean? Because you feel better, you have better energy levels, things like that. To me, you know, in our approach, first and foremost, that's the most important thing. And that's going to be more impactful than anything else. Putting on muscle, losing some body fat, increased libido, these things are all great, right?
Yeah.
No one's going to complain about these things.
No,
Right.
no.
But realistically, I feel like we kind of view it as secondary to just feeling a lot better.
Yeah. It's funny because I was before the podcast started. This is gonna be a little embarrassing, but whatever. But I was talking to them, and I was like, my question from at least me personally, I was like, does your testosterone level have a direct correlation with your libido? Because I'm turning 30, it's crossed my path. I want to get my blood work done just from a health standpoint, just to see all the numbers where I'm at. I haven't got a physical since God knows when. But I was like, but my libido's at a nauseating level. So I was like, no, my testosterone's fine. So I was curious if it's like, is it directly correlated? Is it like, okay, well, your libido's fine, but your test may be low. We don't really know. So
Yeah,
at
we
least
don't
for me,
always
that
see
was
it.
my one question.
And
Yeah.
she'll like it too.
Frank Thomas over here. Yeah.
I saw that. I
That was
browsed
good.
through some of
the
the stuff.
old
Yeah, I like it.
eugenics ad. Yeah.
It doesn't always directly correlate, right? I mean, you know, there is correlation, but is it, you know, going to be, you know, if you feel like this is the number? Not always, not specifically. Yes, it could vary person by person. All the symptoms, you know, could vary person by person, and that's part of the conversation that we have with people. And, you know, of course, just like anything else, some people are going to be more forthcoming than others. You know what I mean? Like, not every guy wants to walk in and offer up, you know, certain issues that he's experiencing.
Yeah.
Sure.
You know,
Some are more embarrassing than others too, man. Like, hey, man, it's launchpad ain't working. You know what I'm saying?
And I mean, yeah, the more open and honest everybody is, it's, you know, the more we can help them, you know, talk about symptom-based things.
Yeah.
Sure.
But yeah, it's definitely going to vary person to person.
Yeah, I'm actually really curious because the guy behind the camera, Jesse, I used to play Little League with him. Great kid, not a good player, but anyway, he was really curious as to, like, ironically, we just witnessed Aaron Judge, who apparently, hopefully, is a clean ball player, hit 61 home runs, and in the past, in one single season, there's been 70. Sammy Sosa hits plus 60 twice, and Barry Bonds, the whole 9 yards. You get the point. Now, his question was, I'm curious if the stuff that, like, an HRT clinic gives out, like, just whether it's testosterone, cypionate, whatever it may be, is it the same stuff that these professional athletes are taking at just a higher dosage, or are there any other extracurriculars that they're dabbling in that may have that enhanced effect?
Yeah. So it's interesting because I love talking about this part of it because this is a lot of the, I guess if you want to say the stigma or the misrepresentation, misunderstanding, whatever you want to call it, right?
Yeah.
Is that, so most commonly we're doing testosterone cypionate, right? But what we're doing as with TRT, HRT, we're bringing you back to optimal levels, right? So when you were 24, 25, 26 years old, probably, that's when your testosterone levels were optimal, right? So what we're doing is we're bringing you back to those optimal levels. Just like, you know, there's a lot of other things that if we have a deficiency in our body, we're taking some type of supplementation, medication, whatever it is, to restore it, to optimize it, to put ourselves in a good place to feel better, right? What may go on, you know, outside of what we're doing is people either taking excess dosage or additional things in addition to the testosterone, right? But that's not what we're getting into.
Yeah. So do you find people that, like, come in for their blood work? Have you ever caught some people be like, nah, you might have taken a little extra this week?
Yeah, I mean, listen, the blood work, it doesn't, like I said, it's not always going to tell every single exact part of the story, but it's going to tell a big story.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, sometimes kind of the story that we get doesn't match up with blood work indicators.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's kind of like are you sure?
Like, it's not just the Wheaties. Yeah.
Yeah. Your testosterone's at 2,000. You know, you just broccoli. Really, you've been eating good. Like
Really love jasmine rice. Really love rice.
Diet is immaculate.
Yeah.
And I think on top, not to keep obviously talking about baseball. I could do this all day, but I think.
Why don't we talk about softball? That's more your league
Yeah,
now,
yeah,
right?
you know, yeah.
Baseball thing's kind of over for you, right?
It's been
Let's go to
it's
softball.
been a long time. But what I think a lot of people that gets misconstrued is, like, guys like, for instance, like Barry Bonds. Like, he was a Hall of Fame player before he even allegedly
100%.
Started the applesauce, the old OJ. But what happens is that people don't really recognize that these players, they're playing, especially baseball players. It's 162 games a season.
Mm-hmm.
They're playing almost every single day. They're not necessarily, like Andy Pettitte even said it when he got caught. A lot of people forget that shit. But he took it solely for recovery purposes. It's not, for the most part, you see, excluding Mark McGwire, excluding Sammy Sosa, these guys who are giant, like, aliens of athletes. But it's for more recovery purposes, the day-to-day recovery, flying, traveling, playing every single day. At least
just trying to stay in the game.
Exactly.
Yeah. I mean, athletes run into that, right? Like whether it's an injury or recovery or a torn muscle, like these guys just want to be in the game. Forget like exceeding performance. I just got to be in the game.
Yeah.
I can see that.
On ESPN radio, they were saying like they call it the stuff. They don't, like, if you notice on radio, they don't say steroids. They don't say anything like that. They said when the guys were on the stuff back in the day. But it really takes your average player to a good player. And then a good player to like really good, and then it takes like your guys with Barry Bonds, like it takes you from like
already a Hall of Famer
to fucking alien, like out of this.
He could have retired before he even started and he would have been a Hall of Famer.
Yeah, he's the only guy in the 500. He hit 500 home runs, and then he also stole 500 bases. He's the only guy ever to do that. So it really takes guys from that elite level to just video game numbers that are just like ridiculous. But I mean, in terms of, I guess from a bodybuilding standpoint, what I see, the unfortunate part is the abuse part, which a lot of people don't want to get into. And in the past, I want to say like 5 years, you've seen some really high profile guys unfortunately pass away. Some of them that I've had the privilege of meeting. And it's just very unfortunate. We talked about this before the guys walked in, is the drug abuse part. That's just because guys aren't, even professionally, they're professional bodybuilders. They refuse to look at it from a health standpoint or even get their blood work done.
Right.
And you were talking, so like you brought up blood dumps before.
Mm-hmm.
Before we spoke on the phone 2 weeks ago, I had no idea what that was.
Right.
What is that?
That's super crucial. I mean, I can't overstate how important that is. So one of the things that we do in terms of the blood work that we're checking, we're looking at your red blood cell, hematocrit, hemoglobin levels. That's basically going to give us an idea of the viscosity of the blood, right? You don't want it too thick. When that gets elevated, any of those indicators, what you want to do is a blood dump. You could do a blood donation, blood dump, same thing. And basically what that's going to do, it's kind of like an oil change is the analogy that we give for the car, where, if you don't do it, you're going to run into problems. If you do, it's going to bring you back to normal range.
Now, is that obviously...
what kind of problems would somebody run into with
stroke, heart attack, serious things. Yeah, this is, like I said, I can't overstate the importance. And we have guys that come in, some that have been, running different stuff, TRT or above TRT, for years. And either nobody's ever said it to them, like you said, you aren't familiar with it, that, you haven't heard it spoken about. But some guys aren't familiar, or they're just kind of like, oh, I'm good, whatever. Like whatever the case is.
I feel fine,
I'm good. I got chest today. I don't have time for that, right?
Yeah,
so
exactly.
But yeah, whatever the case is, we have guys that have been doing stuff for years. They come in super elevated.
You're like, holy shit, yeah.
And it's like it's something you want to address immediately.
I had a friend who recently just got his first blood dump, and he's been taking whatever he's been taking for quite a long time, and he said he feels like immaculate, like a different fucking person.
Oh, you're gonna feel a lot better.
Different person.
You're gonna feel lighter. Let's. It's hard to quantify. Maybe less tense, just lighter. It's hard to describe, but you're definitely gonna notice a difference.
Yeah. So like the first question that came to my head was, now, do you recommend people just on a regular basis, whether they're on TRT or not on TRT? Is donating blood or doing blood dump something that you recommend? Or is that like, hey, like if you're, let's say, just your average...
All recommendations should come from your doctor?
Yeah.
But I would love your opinion.
Yeah, generally speaking, it's going to be indicated by the blood work. So when we start somebody on a protocol, this is what we do. 6 weeks after they start, they're going to do their first blood work checkup, and then generally every 3 months subsequently after that. Sometimes, we could always check it more frequently if there's a reason or anything like that. But generally, that's how often we're checking. And any of the levels, when they start to get elevated, that's when we're going to recommend that they do a blood dump. Most common range, maybe every 3 to 6 months. Could be different for different people. It's definitely individual based. But that's what we're going to do. We're going to look at the blood work. When we start seeing elevated ranges, that's when we're going to generally recommend that they come in and do a blood dump.
Awesome. How long has Revive Jericho been open?
Us a little bit, 2 years open for the most part. Pre-pandemic, a little bit. Then there was the whole shutdown. Then we've been reopened for about like the last 2 years.
Wow.
Good for you guys.
Well,
Yeah.
congratulations.
And you guys offer a pretty well-rounded service. I mean, I didn't even know you guys did the IV and the cryo. The stem cell's interesting to me because for just other health reasons, I didn't even know regular clinics could do that.
Yeah, the stem cell actually there's a PA in Florida that we utilize. We don't have somebody in house for the stem cell. The vitamin therapy we do, the ozone therapy, which a lot of people aren't familiar with that.
What's ozone therapy?
Yeah,
No, throw you out into the ozone, Frank.
Yeah. Listen, anything that works, you know.
So the ozone. I mean, we're looking to take an all-encompassing approach, more of a proactive approach to your health and wellness, right? So rather than just waiting till you get sick, go to a doctor's office, and maybe they give you a pill or something, just good enough so you're not going to die, right? We're looking to more optimize what you're doing, right?
It's true.
With the ozone therapy, though, what we do, we're going to draw 60 mLs of blood from your arm. We're going to mix that in a saline bag, mix it with the ozone at a 70% concentration. We mix that 5 mLs of heparin just to prevent any clotting. Mix up the bag, and then we're going to infuse the oxygenated blood back into your arm. Mm-hmm. It's good for decreasing inflammation, mental clarity, energy levels. Has a lot of good benefits.
Wow.
How often do people do that?
So there's no set protocol. Most commonly, we have people that do it once or twice a week. Some people every couple weeks. There isn't like a standard protocol for it. But most commonly, I would say once, twice a week.
What do you do when you get guys come in and whether they want ozone, HRT, IV therapy, which I think the IV thing is like so underused and just a huge growing thing. Like I'm so interested in the IV drip, but like, how do you approach someone comes in, whether it's a man or woman, let's say it's an older guy, he's 45, he's very overweight, and he's complaining about the normal stuff. Like, you guys seem to have a pretty holistic approach, it sounds like. Do you address diet or supplementation first? Like, how do you look at, besides the blood work, right? Is it you get that whole picture and you kind of address it from diet and sleep and normal habits first, or?
Definitely. So, I mean, the first thing generally
That's everybody's problem. Nobody eats right, nobody sleeps right. And they're like, hey, can you fix me?
It's funny because a lot of times I'll have guys that, obviously I develop a good relationship with the guys that are coming in. And if they're not doing all the other things right, a lot of times they start to think testosterone and more testosterone and more testosterone is the answer.
Yep.
You know what I mean? I'm not sleeping well. I'm eating like shit. I'm not working out, all these things. And it's like, Brian, do you think I should up the testosterone? And I'm like, no, let's address all the other.
Put the McDonald's bag down.
Disregard all that. More test. Kidding.
In the drive-thru, Chick-fil-A, McDonald's, you're good.
So
No, I'm telling you, we
Line it
run
up.
into this regularly. And listen, we sell supplements, and I always say we want to make good shit, but like it's a holistic approach. And what you guys are doing, you're looking at all these different avenues of restoring somebody's health, but like nobody's doing the right stuff at the granular level. Like, just start with how do you eat, how do you sleep, what are you eating, when do you eat it? Like,
you hit the nail on the head because that's
crazy.
We're trying to take like a full macro approach, right?
Yeah.
So we want to talk to you. First, we're going to do, when you fill out your intake forms and when you have a conversation with me before you get to the blood work, before you meet with the medical staff, we're going to talk about what you're experiencing, what your symptoms are, how you're feeling, what you're hoping to improve, all of those things, right? And then we're going to talk about, okay, how are you sleeping? How are you eating? Do you exercise? What's your diet like? What's your workout routine like? All these things. What are your stresses in life? All these kind of things, because it's
that's
all
a good
going
one.
to be
Stress. I didn't
major.
think about that. What people view as stress and how they deal with it.
Yeah, it's all going to be majorly impactful. So
I eat pretty good. I have a bottle of Jack every night. Okay, clearly you're overweight, and we need to check your liver.
we're looking at all that. And it's funny, like you said before, in terms of like, does blood work always line up with the story that people are telling us? ALT, AST liver enzymes. That's one of the things we're looking at where TRT by itself, that's really not going to have a major effect on it. But if you're drinking a lot and things like that, people that we see with that, we have ways that we're looking to address that as well. Right, so we have different things that we can do to address the liver enzymes.
That's awesome.
It's really going to be an all-encompassing approach, like you said.
Wow.
Diet, exercise, all those things. I'm a personal trainer myself. I've been a trainer for the last 14 years.
Wow,
I'm getting old.
Good for you.
So that, and we're going to talk about your nutrition. We're going to talk about workout guidelines, all those things for sure.
So important, the groundwork.
So
That's
what,
awesome.
what would be the best way if somebody wanted to go to the go see you guys and kind of get evaluated and and talk to a doctor? Do you have them go onto your website and go fill out an application? Do you make an appointment at the Jericho location?
Yep.
What's the best way to go about that?
You can, I would say call
Can
or
I give you
email.
my application now? Like, how does it work?
I mean, yeah. Well, our number is 516-500-9977. Or email. You can get me Brian@revivejericho.com.
The plug.
And
like
yeah, those are the best two ways. So you're gonna go to me first. And then I'm going to get you started. I'm going to talk about, what are your symptoms? What are you experiencing? All the stuff.
You're really
just saying.
quarterbacking their holistic approach. Like, you got to figure out what's happening before they can even do anything.
Yeah, kind of as a liaison between them and the medical staff. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not making medical recommendations for them. I'm going to get all the information, all the intangibles, I guess you could say.
So that
Then
they can
we're
get
gonna-
pointed to the right doctor or the right
Yep.
direction. Yeah.
Yep. Then we're looking at the biomarkers. We're going to see what the blood work says, how that matches up with what they're experiencing, and go from there. Then they're going to meet with, the medical staff.
Wow.
Oh, awesome.
It's a good process.
Tremendous.
You guys have it on lock. I'm impressed.
Yeah.
And I'm glad we learned a
Yeah.
little bit too, because like, I think a lot of people don't know, and then they don't know where to go.
Yeah.
Even if they want to know. And then when they go, like, are they going to a place that has the holistic approach, that has right? Like,
Yeah.
people don't know where to go.
I think it's great that they just have, clinics like you guys now that are out there, opposed to, 5-10 years ago. I feel like people was buying TRT off the street or from a bro in the gym. I mean,
Yeah.
the fact that they're able to go get blood work, speak to a real doctor, get real advice, I think that's
get real health help.
yeah, like that's tremendous. Opposed to everything that was going on years ago.
It is true. And I think it's becoming more and more mainstream.
100%,
Places like us.
it's more acceptable and yeah.
Because I think also too, part of the mainstream thing is because, like I said earlier, I think TRT and HRT in general just has a negative connotation to it. When you first hear, "Oh, I'm taking TRT," you're like, "Oh, he's on sauce." But like, it's good for you. After a certain age, like I can't tell you how many guys that are on social media, whether they own supplement companies or they're trainers or whatever, like. Once you hit a certain age, I'm not saying that you need it. It's your own choice. Listen to your doctor and obviously go by your blood work. But like everyone that seems to be on it, not saying that it's the way to go, but like they seem to feel better because they're getting back to their normal healthy levels and their hormones, like point blank.
I totally agree. And like you said, it's so much more mainstream. I think I talked to, I'm 42 years old. And, I speak to a lot of other fathers in their 40s, late 40s, and you wouldn't believe how many people are actually educated or already doing their homework. Either they're on TRT or replacement, or like they're excited to go and they're ready to take the next step and go through that process.
Yeah.
So it's certainly way more mainstream, like you said.
The thing is, it really is, because when you look at it, the way we look at it is, it's going to accentuate. If you're doing all the right things, it's going to accentuate all those things, right? So you guys have a lot of amazing supplements here, right? So we tell people, keep doing all the things that you're doing. If you're taking supplements that are beneficial to you, you should keep doing that. If you're sleeping well, eating well, doing all these things, it's just going to accentuate what you're already doing. Like years of being a personal trainer, the most frustrating part for me was when people were doing all the right things and, maybe they were starting to get up in age, is generally the people I'm talking about. And there was that whole, like, I'm not quite getting the results that I think that I should be, right? I'm eating well, taking some good supplements. I kind of understand what I should be taking. My workout routine's pretty good. My resistance training, my cardio. What the hell is the breakdown? You know what I mean? And a lot of times it could be hormone deficiencies, right? And that, to me, is like wildly frustrating for people, right? And a lot of times that is the gap between I'm not getting the results that I think that I should be.
Sure.
Yeah, at least from what I've seen in the past is there's a lot of people who, once they get to a certain age, it's significantly harder for them to lose weight. And a lot of times, it's obviously your first question is, well, are you eating like shit? You know, like, are you just training and eating well during the week, and in the weekend you're like, fuck it, like I earned it every fucking week.
So many guys, many guys like that, where it's just poor habits, poor discipline.
Yeah.
And that like moves the ball worse down the road.
Yeah.
for your health and your
We've had
hormones.
the
Like you're not
con-
helping yourself any.
Yeah, so
Right.
we've had the conversation multiple times where it's like, oh, I'm eating clean throughout the week, and then that Saturday when I go to a Yankee game,
Yeah,
I'm having
the
like
wheels
8
fall
hot
off.
dogs, and
Yeah.
like the wheels
10
fall off every
beers,
time,
couple- yeah.
and you completely
Cheese
dismantle
fries.
the entire week that you had.
Keep naming stuff.
yeah,
I get
I mean,
hungry,
yeah, cheese fries.
Starving right now.
I know, me too.
Starving.
Terrible
But,
for you.
um,
Cholesterol goes sky
Well, I mean,
high.
Nick has tickets to Yankee Stadium that he doesn't ever
Yes.
take us to. He'll probably take you before he takes. I'm almost positive he'll take you and Jesse before he takes.
He's
us.
on TV. It's unbelievable. At this
Yeah,
point.
yeah.
Listen, when you're a big name,
Be good advertising. You have the shirt on. He was on TV.
Yeah.
Yeah, whatever.
He didn't wear a
whatever
VMI
gets
shirt
me in the
though.
door.
Yeah, he didn't wear a VMI shirt.
I wore my hat. In fairness.
Listen, dude, thank you for the information. This is a good breakdown, and I think good for just our followers and our brand enthusiasts to kind of see that side of it. So
Yeah,
thank you very much for the
I
breakdown.
appreciate you coming by,
Yeah.
man, and thank you for your time.
Absolutely.
All right,
great meeting you.
that's a wrap, guys.
All right.
Push it to the limit, I can't go no more.